They say the greatest lie a place can tell is that it is empty. That the most dangerous rooms are not the ones with broken doors, but the ones with polished floors and perfect light. They promise you a fresh start. They never tell you what or who is already waiting inside. This is not a story about ghosts. This is a story about a sacrament that went rotten. A story of 3 young men who signed a lease with a memory that refused to die. Family, gather close. This is Beads of the Damned. And the story begins in a place where faith was a wall and something unholy painted in the cracks. My name is Amen. I do not enter rooms without checking all 4 corners. I do not believe in coincidences. This is why. In the autumn of 2013, I arrived in Cork, a city of rain-slicked stone and whispered saints. My father had died that spring. A silent heart attack that left my own chest hollow. I was clutching a job offer like a raft, drowning in a cramped, mildewed bedsit. Salvation seemed to come from Sean, a quick-to-laugh Dubliner I met at work, and an old rectory the church had sold. It was divided into flats. High ceilings, leaded glass, newly sanded floors that smelled of beeswax and, faintly, of incense. It felt holy. It felt safe. The landlord, a Mr. Byrne with eyes like cold tea, named a rent so low it felt like a mistake. A gesture, he said, smoothing his tie. For respectable lads. The church prefers stable tenants. The first sign was the cold. Not Ireland's damp chill. A surgical, depthless cold that lived in one place, a narrow prayer alcove off the main bedroom, where a simple wooden crucifix was bolted to the stone. The air there was a physical weight. A pocket of winter no heater could touch. We laughed it off. Old stone. Poor insulation. Our third flatmate, Killian, sealed our fate. A skeptic who hunted ghost stories for a thrill. The first night he stayed over, he grew quiet, eyes darting toward the alcove. Lads, he said, his voice flat. Does it feel like we're being watched from there? We mocked him, but the feeling stayed. Then the sickness began. A low-grade fever that came and went like the tide. A cough that scraped the lungs. We blamed the weather. Until the morning I coughed into the sink and saw the phlegm streaked with dark, granular red. Like old wine. Or dried blood. Killian found scratches on his back upon waking. 3 parallel gashes, too precise for dreams. Sean's nights were punctuated by nightmares of drowning in something thick and sweet. We were not being haunted by noises. We were being infiltrated. The flat had 4 wall sconces. 3 worked. The one in the northeast corner, the one pointing toward the prayer alcove, was dead. The switch was stone. One night, drunk on cheap whiskey and frayed nerves, Killian pointed a trembling finger at that dark corner. "She's standing right there," he whispered. "She's smiling at me." A reckless anger, born of my own buried grief, curdled in my gut. I lurched to my feet. "Enough," I shouted, my voice raw. "If you're there, you bitch, show yourself. This is our home." The room plunged into a silence so complete it rang in my ears. Then, a soft, definitive click. The dead sconce blazed to life. The light it cast was wrong. A jaundiced, urine-yellow glow that seemed to push the shadows forward, not dispel them. And in that foul light, the silhouette of a woman unfolded from the corner. Tall, impossibly thin. Then the bulb shattered, plunging us back into a darkness that now felt hungry. I fled. Spent the night riding buses in the rain, shaking. The next day, a girl from my office who was sensitive visited. She crossed the threshold, paled, and backed out without removing her coat. "There is a profound sickness here, Amen," she whispered. "It's not a ghost. It's a stain. Get out." But we were poor, tired, anchored by pride. We stayed. The end began when Sean fell violently ill, shivering beneath a mountain of blankets. Killian and I, desperate for air, locked him in for his safety and left to fetch soup. We were gone 20 minutes. We returned to the sound of weeping, great heaving sobs of absolute terror. We found him drenched in a cold sweat, eyes wide and unseeing. "It came out of the wall," he babbled, clawing at his arms. "The woman, but she wasn't a woman. Her face was smoothed over, like stone, and she was dripping. She reached for me. She called me brother." That broke us. Sean fled to Galway the next morning. Killian left for Kilkenny soon after, but not before a final, chilling call to me. "Amen," he said, his voice a hollow scrape. "I was at the old bridge, the Priest's Leap, a notorious suicide spot, barricaded at night. A man was there. He gave me directions, wouldn't look at me. Amen, from behind, he looked exactly like your father." My blood froze. The Priest's Leap was where my father's ashes had been scattered. Killian had opened a door, and something had followed him home. I was alone then, save for my girlfriend, Maeve. We lasted 6 days. Her bold tomcat would transform inside the flat, sinking into a low crouch, hissing at the prayer alcove, his eyes tracking nothing we could see. The truth came from a garrulous old neighbor, Mr. O'Sullivan, over a shared bottle of Powers. "That rectory," he slurred, leaning close. "Bad business. Before the church sold it, a young novice priest, Father Ardag, a troubled soul, became obsessed with a penitent woman. Thought her beauty was a demon's trick. One night screams. They found him in that side alcove. He tried to cleanse her with a knife. Then he carried her to the window. 6th floor. They say he jumped right after, holding her. A pact. Or a punishment. The church sealed it. Called it a lapse of faith. I confronted the landlord. Did someone die here? A murder. The line went dead. He blocked my number. The final act was one of terrified ritual. I sought out an old monk in a remote Kerry priory. His face was like carved bog oak. "The place is not haunted by the dead," he intoned. "It is cursed by the perversion of the sacred. That alcove is a wound. He is still trying to finish his twisted sacrament. He thinks he's saving you." He gave me instructions. "Retrieve your belongings. Touch nothing of the place itself. Do not look into the alcove. Speak the prayer of binding as you leave." I went back one last time. The flat was oppressively silent, the cold from the alcove bleeding into the hall like a breath. I grabbed my boxes, my heart a frantic drum against my ribs. As I backed toward the door, I felt it, a pull, a yearning attention from that dark niche. I began the prayer, my voice trembling. "By the wound in Christ's side, by the 5 holy marks, I bind that which seeks to bind me." From the alcove came a sound. A wet, ragged inhale. Like a man drowning in air. I ran. I purified everything. Maeve and I moved to a new city. I thought for a time it was over. But the story does not end at the new doorstep. Sean's life unraveled. He lives in a state of perpetual chill. Killian was in a psychiatric ward for 6 months, screaming about the smiling stone woman and the man at the bridge. He hasn't held a steady thought since. And I. Last week, the power in our new flat failed. Not a blackout. Just our home. In the perfect smothering dark, a new scent seeped from the heating vent. Beeswax. Incense. The coppery tang of old blood. Then a drip. 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 And a voice woven from 2 familiar tones, Sean's laugh and Killian's scream, spoke from the corner of my bedroom where the shadow was deepest. "The sacrament is not complete, brother. We have your name. We have your fear. We are always listening." This is the story of the Rectory flat, Cork. It is not a ghost story. It is a desecration. The most profound evil does not storm the chapel. It kneels in the pew. It twists love into possession, faith into fanaticism, and mercy into a final, unforgivable act. It mistakes horror for holiness. So listen closely, family. If you are ever offered a sanctuary that feels too pure, too pristine, if the cold settles not in the air but in your soul, if you feel the fervent, hungry gaze of something that believes it is saving you, run. Some places are not haunted by what was lost, but by what was corrupted beyond all recognition. And some blessings are not gifts, but invitations to join a congregation of the damned. If you have a story that haunts you, send it to beadsofthedamned@gmail.com. Your truth becomes our tale. Your likes and comments keep these stories alive. Claim your free book in the description. Until next time, may your path be lit. May your faith be your own. Good night.